Hi guys, my name's Hunter, as you could probably tell by the YouTube channel that you've just clicked on. This is going to be a real quick, hopefully I tend to talk a lot, but real quick first impression on the Ulanzi eye lights, mini ice lights versus the Godox TL-30. I am not a professional YouTube reviewer. This is just my very small office, very cluttered. That's why I'm kind of sitting in front of the desk so you can't see all the clutter behind me. I'm a part-time videographer and photographer, and I find a lot of value in YouTube reviews, but a lot of them are not pointed at people like me. I'm a very cheap individual. I try and do what I do very well, but on a budget as well. So I've done wedding videography for about 7 years, and this is the first time I've had any sort of continuous lighting that I'm going to be taking to a wedding with me. Haven't used these yet. Literally got the ice lights in the mail today. I've had the Godox for about a week. Have not had any shoots with them yet. So, like I said, this is just a real quick first impression. I've shot 2 weddings with a photographer that used tube-style lights. I think they were Westcott ice lights, which I think is funny that they call these ice lights or mini ice lights or whatever, kind of stealing the verbiage, but whatever. The Westcotts were $400, and talking to that photographer, he was like, you know, these are great, they're fantastic, but just buy the Chinese ones, they're cheap. So, I think I might be the first person in the U.S. maybe to have my hands on these that have purchased them through the website at least. I'm sure there's some reviewers that have them, but I couldn't find anybody in the U.S. that had these. I was going to buy a pair of the Godox TL-30s, and when I went to buy them, from doing research and stuff, the price jumped from like $200 for the 2-light set to $250. Well, in the same amount of time, I was looking at, again, I don't know how to say Ulanzi or whatever, one of their rectangular LED box lights. Saw really good reviews on this, and I was like, maybe I'll pick up one of these, and the TL-30 have a couple of different options because this comes with grids and a softbox, which I like. I've done a lot of off-camera photography stuff with speed lights, different light modifiers, even studio lights, and so I like having some light modifiers that I can play with this guy, as opposed to, you know, it's really hard to put a softbox on something like this, especially with only having so much light coming from an LED source as opposed to a dedicated flash. Also, I broke my finger. Might be another cool wedding, another cool video. I've got 2 weddings coming up this week that I'm going to be doing with a broken finger on my right hand. Stay tuned. That one might be fun. Anyways, this is supposed to be a quick review or a quick comparison of the 2 lights. So I bought 2 of these lights. What is lighting my face currently is the other ice light, just a single ice light. I'm at 6,500 Kelvin. I don't know if I can change. Nope, I keep looking at my phone. I'm shooting on a Nikon Z5 with a 16 to 35 f4 adapted lens with an FTZ adapter. I'm looking at my phone because I've got SnapBridge going, and you know, that's my monitor basically. I was looking to see if I could change the white balance to a manual white balance. I can't. So we might have to do a little comparison of the white balances on the lights later. So this is one light. I am at 1600 ISO, f4 1/50th of a second in manual mode. So I'm going to turn a second light on. These are both 100% powered. I'm going to set it up on top of each other because they magnetize. And that throws quite a bit more light and lights up the room a lot more, whereas we might have been a hair underexposed before. We're probably right on exposure, according to my phone at least. We'll see what it looks like 4K on the big iMac later. So that's what the 2 lights look together. Now we're going to switch out to the Godox, and I picked 6,500 Kelvin because that's the top amount that the Godox goes to. So here's all of them, in which my face is super blown out. And then I can't see, these are so bright. We'll turn these 2 off. And I'm going to say, looking here, we'll look at the footage together. I'll do a little bit more of a side-by-side since that wasn't like a clean-cut transition, me just doing it there. But the light output looks pretty similar between the full TL-30 and the 2 mini ice lights. Okay guys, I wanted to come in and add to the video. One thing when I looked at the lights back to back, there was a pretty good hue difference between the two. So white balance is probably set off of the eye light initially, and then when the Godox came in, it looked a lot more yellow, which means this either the ice light was more yellow or this had more of a magenta hue to it. So I wanted to come in and make sure I hadn't changed any settings. On the Godox, when you're in Kelvin, you've got a green and magenta hue switch. So you've got your click wheel here. You can go back and forth between the two and change kind of your hue on the Kelvin. And then so the ice light, you are at your Kelvin adjustment, and that is it. You've got Kelvin, and then you've got your power adjustment there. So the other thing, when I sat down to look at this, is when you look at the back of these, especially as I'm looking through a screen, it's even harder. These buttons have white outlining, so you can see them very easily, whereas these ones are really hard to see. So, because looking at the back side of the light, I'm really having to focus to figure out. So the bottom here is mode, and that will change between which you adjust, either your Kelvin or your brightness. These two actually turn the brightness up and down, and then the power button rotates it through RGB mode, your scenes, and back to your Kelvin. Whereas here, MOD is mode. You can switch between, this is I think actually HSI, and your different scene modes, and then back to your Kelvin. Your dim goes, you can see that 100% is flashing there, and then I can roll the 100% up and down, and I take it off dim, and you got the click wheel to go back between those two. Whereas if you tap the power button, it doesn't do anything. Here the power button runs you through your modes. So anyways, I think that could be an important comparison between the two. Real world usage, if you're looking at the back of this, if you run around back to adjust it, especially after you're blinded yourself by looking at it, it might be kind of hard to figure out. See there, you can see it with a good reflection of my computer screen, or of the light there, but you almost need a light to see the buttons to adjust them. Whereas this one, they're outlined in white, they're going to be a lot easier to pick up in a dark reception hall or something. So this is pretty much all the farther I was going to go. I'm going to throw up the bigger panel, so you're actually going to get a 3-4 comparison. Again, this is set to 6500 Kelvin, 100% brightness. I'm going to set it right there. That looks like less light than the TL-30. These are a little bit more similarly priced, the rectangle light versus the TL-30, but looks like a little bit less light than the TL-30. So size-wise, I have 2 ice lights. You can get about a third one stacked in here. 3 ice lights would be about the same size as 1 TL-30. So you can look up the specs. I don't know, this might say on here somewhere. So the power is 8 watts. I could have done this before. Power is 6 watts. So if these reach 6 watts, I put them together, we got 12 watts of output versus 8 watts. Now, and that's power, not necessarily output, so I will say that. 2900 milliamp battery, these are 2000 milliamp batteries. So anyways, you can look up specs all you want. I'm not really here to go over specs necessarily, but for a budget-minded videographer, that's, if I start doing more of these review videos, that's what I'm going to be looking at, the budget-minded photographer, videographer. These were $25 a piece. So I could get 4 of these for a little over the cost of 1 of these, if you're really budget-minded. Or you can do like I did, buy 2 of these and buy a rectangular light. I could take that cold shoe mount, stick on one of these little ice lights, and run this on top of my camera, or run this on a cold shoe mount on a frame, or I'm losing the word for it, but you could run this on your cold shoe mount wherever you wanted to go. You just have to get one of these extras. So basically, for the price of a TL-30, which these are cheap anyways, these are 89 bucks. You know, they sell them in kits of 4, kits of 2, whatever, you know, with different kits, with different cases and stuff. I decided I didn't really need the case because I use a different system, which maybe I'll do a video on my vintage suitcase system I use for my gear. But, I mean, for 89 bucks, these are pretty cheap, but for 25 bucks, these are really cheap. I can buy 2 of these and a rectangular video light for the same price. Initial reactions, you know, as far as like softness or whatever, I don't know that I could tell a big difference. Now granted, it's going to be better, you're going to be able to tell better because I've got this off-camera left when I'm looking here than when I'm looking down at my phone, because you're going to get that cross-section on my face, which is why I set it up like this. I know a little bit about lighting. I've been doing wedding photography for over 10 years. I know a little bit about lighting. I'm just not probably the best of YouTubers. Yeah, we're going to scrap that out. Anyways, thanks for checking out my quick initial reaction, quick first look at the eye lights, the pocket ice lights from Ulanzi versus the Godox TL-30. Let me know what you'd like to see more of maybe. I'm going to be hopefully using these at a wedding in 2 days. So if you happen to see this in those 2 days, which you probably won't, throw some comments down. Let me know if there's anything you would really like to see me kind of demo or look at, or some thoughts you would like to see after my first wedding with them. Take care, guys.